there is only one position group on this Georgia Bulldogs team that it seems like nobody has any doubt about is going to be really good in 2025. That's the linebackers. Ryan Curley from Dawg here talking about Georgia's linebackers. ESPN's had something to say about Georgia's linebackers recently. I'm going to bring that to you. Kirby has praised them. We've gotten to speak to four of the guys who I think are going to be the primary players in that inside, I know are going to be the primary players in that inside linebacker room. C.J. Allen and Raylan Wilson Jr.'s, sophomores, Justin Williams, and Chris Cole. We've gotten to speak to all four of those guys in spring practice already. Getting to speak to some more guys tonight. Find out soon whether they're linebackers or not. But this is the one position group that there is no doubt about. You talk to everybody. You talk to fans. You talk to insiders. You talk to Kirby. You talk to people within the program. They say, hey, these Georgia linebackers are going to be really good. Why? Because they are really good players. And out of every single position group, when you just look through recruiting history, it is the one that Georgia has been the most consistent on the last few years. In fact, the guy that is the leader, essentially the quarterback for Georgia's defense, I think, C.J. Allen, actually the lowest rated guy out of all of these linebackers that I'm going to talk about. And look, I'll go ahead and bring up what ESPN had to say first. I talked earlier this week about the weakness that they tabbed with Georgia, and that was the running back room. The strength that they gave them was the linebackers, citing that it doesn't matter that Jalen Walker, who, hey, this guy might be a top 15 pick, might be a top 10 pick next month in the NFL draft, Smile London, a guy that was a 3-year starter for Georgia and, dealt with injuries, but is one of the more athletic linebackers you'll see. Doesn't matter. Georgia's done a really good job recruiting the position. This is what ESPN had to say. Even after losing star linebacker Jalen Walker, potential first-round pick in the draft, 3-year starter Smile Mondon, Georgia's linebackers figure to be the heart of the defense in 2025. C.J. Allen is the leader of the unit after ranking second on the team with 76 tackles to go, with 3 tackles for loss and 5 quarterback hurries last season. Gabe Harris Jr. and Raylan Wilson got plenty of action, and Chris Cole was named to the All-SEC freshman team by the league's coaches. Allen, Cole, and Wilson were ranked either the number 1 or number 2 linebacker prospects in the class of 23 and 24. ESPN's recruiting analyst, Georgia coach Kirby Smart, also added that freshman Zayden Walker, the number 1 outside linebacker prospect in the class of 25. Yes, we'll get to Zayden Walker a little bit, but what this blurb from ESPN did not mention was Justin Williams, who was actually the number 1 ranked linebacker in the 2024 class. Chris Cole was ranked right there with him. He ends up being the guy this past season out of all the freshman linebackers that got time. He just, these rankings kind of go out the window when you get to college. And it was Chris Cole that was the one that was the leader of the pack for the freshman linebackers last season. Smile Mondon, he's dealt with injuries the last couple of seasons, dealt with one last season. He's out for a few games. It was Chris Cole that rotated in more and more when Smile Mondon was out and rotated in there with Raylan Wilson and C.J. Allen. And look, he made an impact. He scored a touchdown. He recovered fumbles. He was a really good pass rusher. We talked to Raylan Wilson, a guy who, this is, to me, if it's a breakout season for somebody, it's a breakout season for Raylan Wilson, because now he is going to be a starter, and he's going to be in that rotation more than he ever has as a third-year junior. And with Smile Mondon out the door, it was Smile Mondon and C.J. Allen for the most part, with Raylan Wilson mixing in there. Now it's going to be C.J. Allen and Raylan Wilson with Chris Cole and Justin Williams mixing in there, right? Barring a development that I'm not foreseeing. Obviously, Jalen Walker also played a little bit of inside linebacker. We know that he played everywhere, and that took a part of it. I kind of think that's something we might see out of Zayden Walker. I don't know a lot about Zayden Walker. I didn't get a chance to go see him in high school, so I don't know too much about him. I can kind of foresee maybe there's a versatile role with him. I do think there's a versatile role with Chris Cole as well. I don't know that they have a guy on the team they're going to use in a Jalen Walker type of way where he's just everywhere, but we've seen already Chris Cole can play inside and out. Gabe Harris was mentioned in this. He's not practicing during spring practice. He was a highly rated outside linebacker a couple years ago. But the outside linebackers are a little bit of a question mark. Now, this is, to me, it's the inside linebackers that no one has any doubt about. the outside linebackers certainly have some doubt. Quintavious Johnson, Gabe Harris, and then a bunch of freshmen, really, like Isaiah Gibson, Darren Ikanagman, guys that are kind of more edge rusher types, but Zayden Walker, they're tapping him as an outside linebacker. Maybe he gets into the mix with this season, but like I said, I think with his stature let me pull that back up real quick. I had him pulled up a second ago. 6'1.5", 225, a guy that probably can play both inside and out. So we got to hear from Raylan Wilson. I kind of got off track there for a minute, and he was talking about what he needs to get better at, obviously, and talking to him with CJ Allen. Those guys they're boys. They're friends. They got to Georgia together at the same time. Typically, you see players that are in the same class end up being pretty tight, especially when they're in the same room. And him and CJ Allen know it's their turn to be the leaders of the defense. Now, in their third year, they're some of the older guys with some of the most snaps on the defense. He said, this is what Raylan Wilson said. He expects us to be he's talking about Glenn Schumann. He expects us to be the quarterbacks of the defense when it's our time. It's our time. That's what he said. CJ Allen said, we believe in each other and we have a plan. And I'm just blessed to be one of the older guys in the room. They're excited. CJ Allen is a guy that I haven't had the best experiences with in terms of a media relationship. And he was really happy in that press conference room a couple of weeks ago when he was one of the first players that we got to hear from in spring practice. And he just seemed really excited for this opportunity. He was the guy his freshman year that roped in with Jamon Dumas-Johnson and Sval London. And then last year, he was one of the guys. Chris Cole ropes in. Raylan Wilson ropes in. The thing with Georgia here is there's not just one or two guys. There's 4, 5, 6 guys who are capable of playing at this position. And the highest ranked one out of all of them, and Justin Williams, has seen the field the fewest amount out of all of them. And a guy that you think is going to probably take a little bit of step forward, get onto the field some this season. And it just goes to show how deep they are and how they've been recruiting in that position when class after class, they're bringing in high-level guys who, look, they're going to be competing for the Butkus Award. Jalen Walker did it last year. Expect one of these guys to put their name in the hat for that, whether they win it or not. This is what Kirby said about Chris Cole and Justin Williams. Like I said, if you're not familiar, they're going to be sophomores this season. He said both are going to be good football players, both very conscientious, like hard workers. You know, I've started a new ritual of asking a guy at the end of practice who he thinks the hardest worker is. Who works the hardest? Who practices the hardest when you watch the tape? Who do you say has that passion and fire that's sometimes lacking all over college football now? It's a different climate in college football. So it's funny because Chris Cole and Justin Williams have both been mentioned multiple times by people as extremely hard work guys. Like, they work hard, and I appreciate that about them. Sometimes it's tough to read what Kirby's saying because he doesn't put complete sentences together, and then when I'm reading it, I get caught up. Anyway, he talks about how the players on the team are noticing that these linebackers are some of the hardest workers on the squad. And part of what Kirby wants and says is lacking right now in general, not just college football, but on Georgia, is that people that have the fire, people that are real competitors. Seems like he doesn't have to worry about that with his linebackers and guys that are going to be heavy pieces of the rotation. So, look, I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement with the primary take that Georgia's strongest room is its linebacker room. Why? Well, you got to do the process of elimination too. They say running back's the weakest. I do think there's a little bit of a question mark behind Nate Frazier. Quarterback, we'll see how Gunnar Stockton plays. Offensive line, it's going to be really new. I do think they have some dogs on that offensive line, but it's going to be new. Receivers, I think that's going to be a strong point, but we need to see it on the field as well. DBs, there's open competition. Defensive front, they're replacing a lot of players. It's the linebacker room that's retaining the most talent and is also retaining a lot of production when you think about CJ Allen being such a big part of the production on defense last year. And those quarterbacks of the defense are some of the most tenured ones on the team at this point. Linebackers, you have any doubts about them? Because no one seems to really have any doubts. Thanks for watching.